In this video, we're breaking down Tiny Habits by B.J. Fogg, the book that shows how small, simple actions can quietly rewire your life. If you've ever set big goals, gotten motivated, and then somehow lost it all after a week, this book is your reset button. Because according to Fogg, the problem isn't you, it's the system you're using. You don't need more motivation. You need better design. Welcome to Summary Central, where we turn the world's best books into practical lessons you can use right now. If you find value in this breakdown, hit that like button. It helps the channel grow and tells YouTube this is content worth sharing. And subscribe so you never miss the next one. All right, let's start small, because that's the whole point. The power of starting tiny. Most people try to change through motivation. They wait to feel ready. They hype themselves up. They buy planners and gym memberships. But motivation, Fogg says, is like the weather. Unpredictable and impossible to control. One day it's sunny. The next day it's gone. The real secret to lasting change is simplicity. You design your habits so small, so ridiculously easy, that motivation isn't even part of the equation. Want to get fit? Start with one push-up. Want to floss regularly? Start with one tooth. Want to meditate? Take one deep breath. That's the essence of tiny habits. Make success so small you can't fail. Because once you start, your brain starts building momentum. The action itself becomes proof, hey, I'm doing it. And once you feel that, identity starts to shift. The behavior formula, B equals MAP. Fogg captures every habit in one formula. Behavior equals motivation, ability, a prompt. A behavior happens when motivation, ability, and a trigger all converge. If motivation is low, make the action easier. If ability is limited, shrink the step. If you keep forgetting, add a prompt. Something that tells your brain, do it now. That's why Fogg teaches people to anchor new habits to existing ones. For example, after I brush my teeth, I floss one tooth. After I pour my morning coffee, I stretch for 30 seconds. After I sit down at my desk, I open my to-do list. The after I statement is pure gold. It connects the new behavior to something that's already automatic. You don't have to build new triggers from scratch. You piggyback on the ones that already run your life. That's how tiny actions start sticking. They blend into your existing rhythm instead of fighting it. Celebrate small wins. Here's where Fogg flips traditional self-help completely on its head. He says, you don't need willpower and you don't need discipline. You need emotion. Every time you do a small habit, celebrate immediately. Smile, say yes, pump your fist, hum a tune. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you feel good. Why? Because your brain learns best through emotion, not logic. That spark of dopamine when you feel proud tells your brain, remember this, do it again. Most of us wait to feel good until after we achieve something big. Fogg wants you to feel good right away, because that's what wires the habit in. Repetition doesn't build habits. Emotionally rewarding repetition does. That's why small wins matter. They're emotionally powerful. Identity change, the real transformation. Fogg says, help people feel successful and they'll naturally want to do more. When you celebrate, you're not just reinforcing a behavior, you're building a new identity. That's why even one push-up matters. You're not training muscles, you're training identity. You're teaching your brain to say, I'm the kind of person who takes care of my body. Change happens the moment you stop trying to achieve a goal and start becoming the kind of person who lives that goal automatically. Identity-based habits stick because they're not about effort, they're about congruence. You act in line with who you believe you are. So every small success, no matter how minor, is a vote for your future self. If this idea resonates, that identity grows from emotion, not motivation. Give this video a like. It tells YouTube this kind of deeper, practical content is worth recommending, and it helps others start their own tiny transformations. Design beats discipline. Fogg is obsessed with one truth. You don't need more discipline. You need better design. He shows that most people fail not because they're weak, but because their environment is rigged against them. If your phone is next to your bed, you'll scroll. If candy is on the counter, you'll eat it. If your running shoes are buried in a closet, you'll never run. So don't fight temptation, remove it. Don't force good behavior, make it easier. Redesign your environment so the right choice becomes the obvious one. Want to eat healthy? Put fruit where you can see it. Want to drink more water? Leave a full glass by the sink. Want to practice gratitude? Keep a sticky note on your nightstand that says, "One thing I love today." When the easy thing and the right thing become the same thing, success stops being a struggle. This is where Fogg's method shines. It's not about more motivation. It's about less friction. The ripple effect of small wins. Something fascinating happens when you get one small habit to stick. It starts spreading. Fogg calls this the ripple effect, when success in one area boosts motivation and optimism in others. Start flossing one tooth and you start caring more about your health. Start drinking water in the morning and you begin skipping soda at lunch. Start tidying your desk and suddenly your mind feels clearer. Why? Because success feels good and your brain wants more of it. Momentum is addictive. This is why the smallest wins often lead to the biggest transformations. When you shrink the scale of effort, you expand the sense of progress. And progress, not perfection, is what keeps you going. The magic of emotion and hope. People change best when they feel good, not when they feel guilty. That's Fogg's mantra. Shame shuts down change. Emotion fuels it. If you miss a day, you don't start over, you simply resume. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is consistency that feels kind. And that emotional safety creates a feedback loop. You feel good about doing it, you repeat it, you feel successful, you grow. Fogg calls this success momentum, the emotional residue that makes change self-reinforcing. Once you feel proud of progress, your habits start growing naturally, like a plant reaching for sunlight. You don't have to push. You just keep nurturing the next small step. Real-world example, Martha's laundry habit. Fogg shares a story about a woman named Martha who wanted to start exercising again after years of inactivity. Instead of forcing herself to hit the gym, she designed a single anchor. After starting the washing machine, she would march in place until it beeped. That's it. At first, it was just a few minutes. Then she added stretches, then walks. Months later, she was hiking regularly, not because of willpower, but because the behavior had grown naturally from a tiny, feel-good start. That's how habits evolve when emotion leads the way. Tiny success, celebration, identity, expansion. You never force the growth. You let it happen. How to troubleshoot your habits. If a habit isn't sticking, it's not your fault. It's your design. Ask yourself, is the step too big? Is the cue too vague? Is the emotion missing? Fix one variable at a time. Shrink it, re-anchor it, or make it more fun. Fogg calls this debugging your behavior. When you treat your habits like design problems instead of moral failures, you stop beating yourself up and you start getting creative. Building a habit garden. Fogg says to treat your habits like a garden. Plant small, simple seeds that make your life feel better right away. Maybe it's a deep breath before opening your laptop. Maybe it's complimenting one person each day. Maybe it's taking one sip of water before coffee. Celebrate those moments, nurture them, and over time, they'll grow roots. Then, when you're ready, add more seeds beside them. As your habit garden grows, the weeds, your bad habits, have less room to take hold. Change happens not by fighting your old self, but by feeding your new one. The original text is already in English, so I will not make any changes. Bringing it all together. So, what does the Tiny Habits method teach us? Don't rely on motivation. It's unstable. Make every habit ridiculously easy to start. Anchor it to something you already do. Celebrate immediately to wire it in emotionally. Redesign your environment so success feels frictionless. Protect identity. Be proud of progress, not perfection. When you fail, redesign. Don't blame. Follow this pattern and your habits become self-reinforcing systems. Little emotional loops that build confidence, identity, and momentum every day. Final thoughts. BJ Fogg's message is simple but profound. You are not broken. Your system is. You don't need to push harder or want it more. You just need to design your habits so success feels natural. Because big change doesn't come from massive effort. It comes from small, consistent wins that make you feel good. So maybe your first habit starts right now. Take one action that future you will thank you for. Maybe it's drinking a glass of water, writing one sentence, or liking this video. Because transformation doesn't start with a grand plan. It starts with one tiny habit and the choice to celebrate it.